What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another breakdown video for the Detroit Lions. As you can see at the top of the screen, this video is being brought to you by BetUS, our partner for this NFL season. That top link in the description because you can get a 125% deposit match up to $2,000. And stay tuned because there is an opportunity to get some free betting money. And I'll tell you about that a little bit later in today's video. Today, we are here with our first 2024 breakdown. Lions-Giants preseason week 1, and we are going to be diving into the Lions secondary performance, specifically the new additions to this roster for the upcoming season. I was initially just going to kind of do like my initial breakdown and go through all the plays that stood out to me, the highlights on both sides, make a super long video like we usually do during the regular season. However, as I was working on that, the All-22 dropped, and I get to that point where I'm like, dang, I'm going to have to rewatch this anyways because now the All-22 is out, and I decided to kind of do this in segments, at least for week 1. We'll see how it goes. We can do it more into all one video in the future, but for week 1, let's break it into segments, and the first one is going to be in the back end. Now, the other segments, I don't know what they're going to be, so let me know in the comments. Do you want to see me look at the quarterback position, the offensive line? Those are some things that I definitely want to do either way, but let me know what specific players you want us to focus on, and we can do that. Rakestraw Jr., Arnold, and Amik Robertson, as well as some of Brandon Joseph and how he performed a little bit into kind of that second unit that we saw when Rakestraw kicked into the slot. We got to see some Khalil Dorsey. We even got to see some Kendall Vildor at that point. This is not going to be every clip that they played in this game, but just the ones that stood out to me. A lot of this is good, but there will be some bad in here as well, but most of these plays are good. As we know, Drew Lock in this game went 4 of 10, 17 yards, and he threw an interception. He was also sacked, and you could tell just by how the Lions were rushing the Giants in this game. Clearly, the approach was, let's see who can get pressure, let's see who can get on an edge, and let's see who can win when they get one-on-one opportunities, rather than maybe so much of, hey, let's make sure that we contain the quarterback. Of course, that's just kind of an aspect that's in there, but the Lions want to see who can get after it, especially from the edge rusher position. I thought guys like Isaac Ukwu had a huge game. Nate Lynn showed a lot in this game. Bakai Wingo showed an ability to get an edge, especially as the game rolled along. In future videos, we could talk about the offensive line, as I thought, from initial watch, guys like Colby Sorstel really struggled in this opener. I thought he had a really rough performance. So things like that we have to dive into. But today, it's all about the back end, and it's all about these new additions, and it was a ton of fun to rewatch. So we'll start here first with a play that the New York Giants love to run, which is their run-pass options, and we get a quick slant here from the slot position, and this is going to be our first look at Amik Robertson in the slot, who looked honestly incredible. I mean, you could argue that he was the best player in this preseason game. He looked really good throughout the entire preseason game. His coverage was tight, didn't give much airspace whatsoever, and he showed the ability to make a play on the football. He looked awesome, and he looked very natural in that slot role for the Lions in this opener. Also, you guys pointed out, I didn't even notice it when it was live, but the receivers were starters for the New York Giants in this game. I mean, Malik Neighbors is here at the top of your screen. At the bottom of your screen, you're seeing Jalen Hyatt, and then the slot here, we're getting Isaiah McKenzie. So that's also worth pointing out that it's not the best receiver room in football, of course, but they did have some of their starters out there, so this wasn't a bad look for the Lions back end either to get reps against these guys. And we start with this play first, and as you can see, Amik Robertson in the slot, we get kind of one of these cover one looks, so we got to see a lot of variety of coverage in this game, but you're going to see that Amik Robertson playing kind of this catch look defensively here where he's not going to pedal, but instead he's going to try to hold that inside leverage, so as it starts to get attacked, you're going to see it right here. Mirror the receiver from this off-man alignment as he gets into the top of the route, so you can see as the inside is attacked so he can open up the slant, you're going to see Amik Robertson pop, move himself laterally to stay on top of that route. That way right here when he opens to transition and he quickly reads like, yo, this is a slant. When he recognizes that the receiver is breaking into the slant, he feels that inside push upfield and he pops with that laterally, but then when he sees the break and he gets the sense that the route break is happening, he quickly transitions, boom, twitchy. He looked extremely twitchy in all of his lateral movement in this game. There's no false steps here whatsoever, and he's on top of the route because he positioned himself early. There's the plant, there's the drive, and then to put it all together, it's the pass breakup at the catch point. Now, we also saw Ben Neiman, and I thought Ben Neiman played a really good game. I thought Ben Neiman was like the guy that you saw, all the good that you saw in the preseason and past with teams like Kansas City. I thought that showed up on the field in this game. I mean, man coverage, his agility seemed a little bit questionable. They attacked him with the quick play action, got behind. But for the most part, Ben Neiman in zone coverage looked pretty smart, looked pretty fluid there. Against the run, he was very effective in this game. And here you're going to see he's going to jump into this B gap. He's going to rush the passer. He gets a tip here on the quarterback, so we can't get a DPI call at this point. We can have contact because the ball was deflected. That being said, though, I still do like the timing here from Amik Robertson because as you're going to see, he's going to close on this route, get himself in a position, but you don't really see a super early grab here. He gets himself in front of the receiver on this play. There's the backhand on the back shoulder of the receiver, and then launches himself in front to utilize all of his length by using his inside hand on a play like this. But he didn't feel like he arrived extremely early. He arrived a little bit early, but it didn't feel like he arrived extremely early. And again, a tip kind of throws that off in terms of timing, but he wasn't incredibly grabby at the catch point here. I love the way that he played that at the catch point. Rakestraw Jr., who got us off the field. And this is against Jalen Hyatt. So we also have to keep in mind who he's running against here. Hyatt is one of the fastest receivers in football. Just straight 40 times straight line. He's one of the fastest receivers, and that's who he's matched up in this man coverage look. To see with Rakestraw Jr., some of the issues that maybe you had in college did show up still in this game, but a lot of the things that you loved showed up, and you got to see that burst. You also got to see that quick route awareness from him here to notice, okay, this is a drag and how quickly he's into plant stick and I got to go. But then also you're going to see some of that flexion within the hips here as he's working through this dragger right here. So route awareness here, which was a huge part of Rakestraw's game in college. That's why he dove on so many of these plays, and he just shut down drag routes and crossers. He did it from the slot. He did it out wide. Here in a slot alignment, he does that exact same thing. You can see he jumps to outside leverage, squeezes this inside, opens himself up. But right here, as soon as he recognizes the receiver is getting into this drag, and there's the route break, it's quick. He's on it, quick into transition, turn and run. But then you're going to see right here, I love the recognition of what's happening right here. As he opens himself up, you can see that they're running kind of this mesh look underneath here. Quickly recognizes that. So instead of like getting over top of the route, he sticks himself right here, and then he gets flat to the route. He's able to work underneath our linebacker, and he's able to close ground. You could just see kind of that quickness, that burst in his game, which we know that was the strength, right? The long speed, people had questions about it. It was still fine. It wasn't like it was terrible. It just wasn't something that stood off in terms of the 40 time. What he did have was a quick 10-yard burst, and you could see it right here. So again, recognizing the mesh setup, plants himself down. You could see that flexion in the lower body. Boom. Plants himself right here. He's able to stick himself down, get flat on this route, get underneath the linebacker, and he just races himself back into the play without slowing down for any reason. He gets into his full sprint, and he's taking off until he can get back to the receiver. This is the kind of route awareness that Rakestraw showed over and over at Missouri. And then, of course, once he got his hands on Jalen Hyatt, there was no way he was letting him get the first down. First off, Hyatt's undersized for that. But number two, this is who Rakestraw is. He's going to work you out of bounds, and that's exactly what he did. Beautiful start from the Lions coverage. I believe it was a 3-and-out to get things started. The third down opportunity, and the Lions secondary helps get them off the field. We'll start with the Robertson first. The ball doesn't go here, but I just love the way that he plays this, the way that he keeps his weight balanced correctly. That way he can quickly transition. And you see a play like this, where again, kind of off coverage here on a play like this. He's going to give you that short pedal, and you're going to see it, but he's not overly getting depth here. Have to understand a 6, understand the situation. So third down to 3, we can't just back up. But as you see on this play, watch him stay on his toes, read the receiver coming into this impending route break, and then shift his weight forward. That way he can stick and get downhill here. He's not worried about getting beat over top. He knows it's 3rd and 3. He needs to be able to play it and drive whichever direction this goes. And as soon as it breaks out, boom, he's got his weight shifted forward. It's efficient. There's no false steps here, and he's taking off. And you could see that burst, that twitch in the lower body. It just showed off over and over in this game, and he's able to close on that route. Then you see Arnold. We'll focus on him here on the bottom of the screen. Here he's working on Jalen Hyatt. And what you love about it was always the transition ability. That's what I always loved about him, is just I thought he was elite in that category. And what I also liked is things like this, the way that he stays on top of the routes. He does a nice job of typically staying square in his press alignment as well, staying square very late on the play. That allows him to open both directions. It allows him to handle 3-way goes. Just kind of stays on top of the routes, very fluid, stays low in his pad level all the way through the transition. Then he's able to get on top of the route, and now he can pace himself with it to sit himself down right here with Hyatt and give up very little airspace. He's just very smooth and fluid. Top of the screen here, you get a pretty nasty release from Malik Neighbors. The thing with Rakestraw is that I didn't love about him coming out of college was his transition ability, and I thought you'd see things like this where maybe you get extra footwork on the play. You see it at the top of the route too, and we'll see it on this example where there creates some separation. But the thing that he does well is he does force the receiver to have to work back to the ball. Like, he can't just stick his route and then turn around and he's open, because Rakestraw has a really good ability to dial himself down at the top of the route. I think it's a special attribute that he does carry. I just think sometimes the transition can be a little bit slow. It could be a little bit extra footwork, and that can throw him off a little bit. Malik Neighbors, you're going to see he's got his inside foot up towards the football, as all the receivers do. But watch off the line of scrimmage here how he's going to give this inside sell. He's going to make it look like he's breaking this thing inside immediately off the line right here. He's going to flip his footwork. There's the left-footed stab. but instead of rolling off of that, he's just going to plant his left foot and then shoot back upfield. So he really speeds up kind of that single step look. And what you're going to see here with Rakestraw is you're going to see his footwork where he starts himself balanced, and when he does well here is he doesn't get outside of himself to a point where he can't transition. But you're going to see here once he utilizes that, Rakestraw starts to turn his body. He's playing now kind of that inside look on a 3rd and 3, and the neighbor's just going to stick off it, super efficient with his footwork to then press and get back upfield. And now Rakestraw, who's turned his body a little bit, has to try to transition back outside for this route. And then you're going to get a little bit extra footwork because of that to kind of stick himself back so that he could open himself up and transition on the play. And then that turns into a spot where at times you can get caught in a trail, and that can make it difficult for him to stick and stop at the top of the route here with neighbors on this play. Now again, the burst comes in handy because he can raise himself back into it, but then right here as neighbors slams on the brakes, now Rakestraw has to try to do the same exact thing. Lock is locked in on going to this route. Didn't mean to do that, but I did. But this is where I think Rakestraw has a lot of talent, is his ability to do this, to stride out and sit himself down like he does here. You minimize that footwork to slow himself down and not allow separation on that immediate thing from the receiver. Now, what that does allow here is because of the extra footwork that it's going to take for him to come back to balance and then plant and drive back to the football. That's where you would see things in college like this, where if the quarterback would be willing to stick on the route late on the play, you would see that the receiver could come back to the ball and open himself up just like that. So initially, it's not going to be there, but if the quarterback is disciplined to stay with it, you can create separation in these spots because Rakestraw then has to kind of gather. You can see here he's not able to drop his weight completely, so now he's kind of gathering his footwork outside to then get back to the football. And this is one of the special aspects that Rakestraw would bring, that ability to kind of roll his hips over and utilize that lower body control to very quickly mirror the receiver at the top of the route just like this, to stick with the curl very quickly. The flip side is it's not your typical just dropping and slamming his weight down through his lower body to be able to then plant and drive back to the football. So you get that little delay. So he sticks with it, but the little delay to actually work back to the football. It's more of a gather outside. Covers it initially, then there's a separation, but also credit to the pass rush here. Isaac Ukwu, again, who had a nice day, little long arm pop inside, pressure around the quarter. The first look wasn't there because Rakestraw did take it away. Now he's forcing him to take off, and then he's able to drive down with him and take this away, and the Lions get a sack. So, again, that is going to be a really darn good receiver, and we've already seen that. But I still think you see a lot of good across the board here. Some of the things that popped up in college, but honestly didn't look that bad whatsoever. Some of their coverage variety, which was really nice here. So here's one of their Tampa 2 looks in this game. The problem I had with this, Ben Neiman didn't seemingly recognize kind of the dagger that they were setting up. He gets pulled by the vertical seam. He's watching the quarterback, and the dagger would be opened up underneath. The flip side is he's also watching the quarterback so he can see kind of the traffic. He takes the seam. It kind of takes his attention off of it. So this would have been open if the quarterback could have just stepped up and not took off. He would have had this huge area to throw the football into. So that's kind of the little thing that I see with a play like this. But you see the Lions rolling coverage, different pre-snap shell versus what they go into. And what I really like from the Lions, specifically at the cornerback position when they went to these Tampa 2 looks, was really good awareness, good zone awareness of how we should play it based on where we're at on the field. You see Terrion with his blind spot here and back inside for Rakestraw to push that into his support and then find the running back underneath. Now, there was an example early in this game where I didn't think he did a great job of his vision behind him, and there would have been a man open, but he improved that as the game went on, and we got to see some nice variety from our cornerbacks. Fortunately, this next one cut off kind of early, but this is probably the Lions' biggest breakdown in this game, just in the back end in terms of leaving somebody open. They go to a cover 3 look here. Now, I believe this was snapped from the right hash, so of course, you're going to have your free safety cheating a little bit to the field side, which means he's going to be cheating a little bit to his right hash on the play. But they're going to run a setup we see a ton of, where you're going to have this deep post, and they're going to have this deep kind of over route right underneath it, and it's going to create conflict here to who's going to take who, because for Rakestraw and for Arnold, who are the deep thirds in this cover 3 look, as this breaks towards the middle of the field, it's no longer in his responsibility, so he's going to drop this off and communicate to Brandon Joseph, who you can't see yet on the play, to, hey, dive down and take that route, and I'm going to drop back into my zone. He's going into your zone over the middle of the field. So that's the communication right there. And what you either need is that free safety's got to drive down on the play, or the free safety then has to drive until it gets back out of his zone, because as you can see, the route is going across the field. It's not staying in the middle field. And he needs to then pass it off to Terrion right here. That way Terrion can drop off, and the free safety can pick up the post, which ultimately looks like it's working its way into his zone. Even though it never really does, it just kind of presses upfield. So you can see the setup. We see this a lot. This is a setup that teams use. But the breakdown here would be, hey, maybe you want Rakestraw to just carry this route up across the field, because Turns out there really was no threat on his side of the field. No one really came out and threatened him into his zone outside from this kind of late little check down. So maybe you just have Rakestraw carry here, but you want this communication because someone has to drive and take this away. The positive is, again, pressure was there. Now, I thought the linebackers did a nice job of getting some depth here as Drew Lock is seemingly trying to find the hole right here, but the receiver's not looking for it really until he crosses the hash. He doesn't have time. Ukwu, and again, now here Pat O'Connor creating pressure, forces him and spills him out of the pocket, and you get the check down. So that's one of those things I'm sure to look at, like, hey, we have to communicate this. Someone has to pick this up because that thing's going to be wide open. If there's not pressure there, you're going to give a big chunk on the play. It's a nice coverage beater, but it is one of those things that we've seen the Lions cover up before. It's difficult, but we've seen them cover it up before.
Michael Vick here at BetUS.com. Get it all. Huge bonuses, great odds, a race book, live in-game betting, and a casino. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
As I touched on at the beginning, there was a great opportunity to potentially get some free play money with BetUS, and here's how you do it. If you already have a BetUS account or you sign up with that top link in the description, you have to do with that top link in the description, and you then DM me. I think the best way to do it is probably on X, at @DoseOfDion is my X account. You may have to follow me, and then I have to follow you back. Then you DM me your account number and your name. We can get you $25 of free play betting money through BetUS. But you got to use that top link in the description if you don't already have a BetUS account. If you already do, you can send me that information. But if you don't, you have to use that top link in the description, and you can get $25 in free play money through BetUS. I have a limited amount that I can do that with, okay? It's not like I can do it for everybody that sends that information over. We have only a few that we can give out. So first come, first serve for this opportunity. So make that happen. I can't guarantee you that just because you DM me, be able to make that happen for you because it's a very limited amount that we can do it for. However, if it does not happen, but you do make an account using that top link, there's a chance that next month we could potentially get you in with that $25 free play. So do that, take advantage of the opportunity, and let's get back to the video. Again, mixing up some of their coverage variety. Here again, we get a Tampa 2 look from the Lions defensively here, and here what I like from Rakestraw, notice his vision here. He finds the receiver in his blind spot. He looks for him. That way he can drift himself into that coverage. Again, he has no underneath threat here. You have an inline tight end who does not release on the play. He goes back into pass protect, and once he does that, Rakestraw now can find his receiver, continue to drop and get depth, and take that thing away behind him. Flip side is Ben Neiman probably has the best coverage on this play from the linebacker position. I mean, this was beautiful. There's the play fake. He gets out and creates depth. Looks to his left first, but as you're going to see, receiver runs vertical. He's got no other threat on that side of the field. Quickly gets his eyes back to the middle of the field. Eventually, he's going to find Drew Lock looking back to the middle of the field here, and ultimately, the route's going to work itself right into his zone. So then he picks that up, and he kind of just plasters it. He stays with Jalen Hyatt on the play entirely. This was beautiful coverage from Ben Neiman here to find this route and take it away. I thought Ben Neiman had a really good day, especially in zone coverage and situations like that. Beautiful coverage from Neiman. Way to pick that thing up and take that thing away. Back into the man coverage here. Here's where we have our interception from Brandon Joseph. And what I liked about Joseph, man, it's an immediate takeaway. He's constantly around the football. And that's what he was last year. He was super efficient. He had really good eyes in his own coverage. He constantly ended up near the football. And today, in this game, he got his first takeaway doing just that. Now, in terms of coverage here, again, the Lions are going to go to a cover one look. You're going to have your safety here, Brandon Joseph, going to be a robber on this play. Here comes your single high on the backside here, Mo Norris. But it's straight man across the board, and the coverage looks good. You got Jalen taking the tight end. You have Ben Neiman taking the back, even though that doesn't look great. Like if there's, some shiftiness to this, probably not going to be great on this play, but the cornerbacks are doing their thing. And you're going to see here, right, Amik Robertson, his man kind of stumbles off the line of scrimmage, so he's able to stay with that again. You still see that lateral burst right there to open himself up. It's great. Arnold kind of sticks here underneath into this flat, and it's really here, right here. Boom, where he sinks himself down, the way that he's able to drop his weight just like the receiver is and stay with that. But then, of course, it's Rakestraw as well. Straw does a nice job of centering himself with this jam. He was pretty accurate in doing so. The biggest issue is when his weight would shift or when he would show himself early that he was going to try to stab, and then the receiver could kind of adjust, and then he kind of fall over a little bit and give him separation. But here, hands come out pretty late, settles himself down, balances himself to create this stab opportunity, and then he's able to open himself. And that's what I like through this too. He's not stationary. When he gets that contact, he has the lower body to move with it. He's able to work with this route back upfield as the route continues to move. It's not going to halt himself right there. So then he opens himself up to move with it. And then, of course, right here, he's going to squeeze the top of the route again. It's what he did constantly in Missouri. He's going to squeeze and try to take away airspace. That's why he's able to drive back underneath, and that's the ability that he has to stick and plant and run with it. And then Brandon Joseph does an excellent job, too, of just awareness of what's happening. Hey, this route goes vertical, pass it off to my free safety. That's his responsibility. Let me step down here, reads the quarterback's eyes really well. He's doing this all game. Reads his eyes, finds it, and he just steps right into this window. Now, Drew Lock maybe stared this down a little bit too much here. As you can see, look at his eyes. He's just watching this dig all the way. And for our safety, that's easy money. Now, it was a post-snap rotation, right? We did rotate our safeties at the snap, but he's watching this dig route, and Brandon Joseph had his eyes all over it. And that's the biggest takeaway. Him ending up by the football by watching the quarterback's eyes constantly in this game. Even the one where Mo Norris got beat and the tight end dropped it, he's right behind it to make a play. There's another play in here we'll show where he's right in the spot to make a play on the football. Constantly by the football, and that's what the Lions need in the back end. That's what they have right now, and he's putting himself in a category as, hey, I'm going to be another guy that does that. Again, Rakestraw at the top of the screen here. Again, some of the issues that you maybe had in college a little bit. You're going to see the pedal on this play. There's going to be that inside stab right there, and it's right here where he opens himself up. You're going to see the weight shift a little bit for Rakestraw.
And when you see, this is something that would more so pop up in zone coverage, but even here is that he can get a little bit upright as the play can kind of develop, and also that can lead to some of the weight shifting. You see with like Terrion, he's low sitting throughout the entire rep.
Had a really nice route here on Rakestraw at the top of your screen. He's going to kind of utilize his 180 break, right, where he's going to plant. He's going to open himself straight up and turn and run with this route. But it's not as simple as the receiver's just not running vertically here. He's going to give you kind of this inside push. So you're going to see him work himself upfield, press kind of the pedal here from Rakestraw, and then he's going to give him that quick stab inside and almost create like kind of a subtle double move on this play, right? The little hesitation right here at the top of the route, boom, right there. And you're going to see with Rakestraw, weight starts to shift a little bit, kind of opens himself, very similar to the release we saw with Malik Neighbors. And then very similar in the transition. You kind of get a little bit of extra footwork before he's able to open himself, turn, and run on this play. And then again, he's caught into a slight trail position. Does a nice job kind of making up, but it's a very similar situation that we saw kind of off the release there as well. On the flip side, though, Khalil Dorsey now is in the game, and this is beautiful coverage from Dorsey. I love Dorsey's efficiency. Dorsey is so efficient at getting himself on the chest of a receiver, reading their body language off the line of scrimmage, and then just taking things away right here. Boom, he's just right on top of the route, super efficient, super low, and he just clamps the route. Now the receiver here, Isaiah Hodgins, wasn't running the best routes, and this was happening to him versus a lot of our cornerbacks, which is good, but Khalil Dorsey just handles himself, plays through the physicality, dials himself down, and completely controls this route throughout. And that's one thing that a guy like Rakestraw does as well. Rakestraw likes to play a little bit more through the upper body so that he can control the route. You'll see that as we go through these. And then Deron Gilbert, of course, is the guy that actually makes the play on this football. Deron Gilbert actually had a pretty good game. You know, he got beat on the wheel, but it was really a pick play that was set up. I thought Deron Gilbert stood out actually playing pretty darn well at the linebacker position. Lions were clearly saying, hey, let's get upfield. Let's see who can get on the edge. Let's see who can create some pressure. And I thought Braddock Martin just overall just looked like much better athletically in this game as a whole. Now, Nate Lynn's going to come up with the sack, and Nate Lynn was working, man. Nate Lynn just kept stringing things together. He just kept being very shifty. You could see the change of pace that was consistent as a pass rusher and just finding ways to find the quarterback. Nate Lynn was relentless in this game. All right, back into the coverage side of things. Here we see for Rakestraw, we're going to see his willingness to press kind of on the boundary side. He embraces that role, getting up, getting contact, squaring himself into contact right here. Boom, there's the jam. Then you got to see the running back into the flat, but also reading the quarterback's eyes as he drifts back to create some depth here, goes over the middle of the field, so he stays upfield with his route as it presses vertical. And then it's really, to me, about Brandon Joseph. It's a footwork. Again, Brandon Joseph was so fluid last preseason. I love the fact that that's carried over. We're already seeing it. I mean, the ball's going to the middle of the field here. I think we got kind of a no look here, and Braddock Martin ended up tipping it into the air. But you're going to see as the vertical route presses here right through the seam that Rakestraw ends up jamming. The way he sits on top of this route, the way he dials down his footwork when the ball gets out of the quarterback's hands, is that the ball is being thrown over the middle of the field, but the ball gets tipped up to the air. So now it's like, okay, find the football in the air. He does that, and it's just that the receiver got his hands on the football right here that the ball was tipped back into the air. But he would have been in a position to either lay the hit or potentially make a play on the football there from Brandon Joseph. So I just love the way that he came out in this game, and he looks so fluid in coverage. I love that he brought that. And then here on a 3rd and 20, again, back into kind of the zone coverage look here. Towards the field, you're going to see the depth that's created. No threat underneath, understanding the sticks, so taking away his man. And on the flip side, again, towards the boundary side, boom, at left cornerback, there's the press from Rakestraw. Just attacks his man off the line of scrimmage, and you're going to see it. Maybe he could give a little bit of a tell there, but boom, just rams him off the line of scrimmage, and drops out with it again, both understanding the sticks here. Ball's thrown underneath, and Lions are able to get off the field. And you got Neiman taking the seam here through this Tampa 2, covering that middle of the field. The thing, like, Rakestraw is going to play a little bit more on the shoulder. He wants to control the route rather than kind of just ride the hip. And as you're going to see on a play like this, right, playing more of the outside leverage, wanting to squeeze this inside. So he's going to use outside hand, outside foot. They're on a string together right here, boom, and it's balanced. He's not unbalanced when he's leaving that attack. It's not like he's throwing himself over kind of that press attack, and we got to see that back in college as well. So he's balanced, that even if he missed, he can kind of recover on the play, but he lands there, then he opens himself up, right hand, right foot, and then he's riding, and then he's right here to ride the shoulder, right here back on the shoulder to try to control this route from the top. Then you see Robertson, even though the ball's not thrown here, you still see some of the twitch here in the lower body, some of that burst right here to open himself up. That's incredible. And they run kind of like what looks like almost like a sluggo here. He doesn't play out the slant completely, but he gives you like the slant look versus inside leverage. I actually love this route. Boom, right here. Dorsey plays that, gets beat over top, but the receiver stops running, and the ball falls incomplete. I was more so focused on Rakestraw there, but that was a play that they could have had us beat on, but the receiver stopped running. It was an interesting look. And then, of course, they run their pick play here, which ends up getting our linebacker, Deron Gilbert, beat here. He kind of rolls right through it. I think maybe could be a little bit faster into getting out there on the running back. You're going to see he takes kind of a wide angle instead of like pressing down because he's a little bit laid out, and that's why he runs into their tight end. Bottom of the screen here, you're going to see laterally. Watch Rakestraw here with the jam here. Watch how he centers himself into this. So there's the outside release, squares himself, lateral movement, boom. There's the stab. He's balanced into that, and then he's able to transition, and then obviously the ball is already out of the hands there. I love the coverage here from the Lions at the top of the screen. Guys like Khalil Dorsey. Khalil Dorsey has shown kind of this route awareness or route development feel, and here he shows that once again here on this dig route. So as he's going to pedal with this route, then open himself up, but he's able to still create depth as he opens himself up. Like, this is pretty fluid. It's really good movement skills here from Khalil Dorsey to open himself up while still being able to create depth and not just losing ground on a play like this. But then as the route break happens there again, squeezing the top of the route, all of our cornerbacks do it, controlling the top of the route. There's a separation he tries to create with the offhand, and then Dorsey to just kind of roll himself back underneath it as this play develops. He does this against dig routes multiple times in this game where the ball kind of gets undercut. So it's like, hey, yeah, he's giving up over top. But at the same time, it's like he's taking away the window for the ball to be thrown because he understands that the route there is a dig route, and he gets the sense of that. Then you got Robertson, who laterally, again, you just kind of see the burst, playing outside leverage here to just work with this, but stick on the outside shoulder, then plant, and then recover on this play, and then run himself back underneath this route. Robertson just looks so good athletically in this game. Now, Rakestraw at the bottom of the screen is beat a little bit here, playing outside leverage, and you're going to see it right there. There's a stab attempt, stays balanced, and he's going to open himself with it. Who becomes that receiver feels that, and he's able to break back inside off of it before he's able to really land a clean shot here. So right here, with his hand coming out, left hand, left foot, getting a little bit wide here, you see the receiver quickly recognize that and kind of stops his momentum and then shoots back upfield. That causes the weight to shift for Rakestraw then, and then at that point, that's where you can get vertical on him and kind of create a little bit of a stack and slow down that transition, and then you need the safety help. So it's great that every other cornerback handled their responsibility, and they were able to, again, force a throwaway on that play. Mo Norris, who I didn't realize was getting like top team reps at safety opposite to Joseph. He got a lot of looks in this game. Unfortunately, you had the one that was incomplete off the tight end's hand that he got beat on. And then a play like this again, you're going to see the weight, right? It's not really forward like we saw with Robertson. It's kind of drifting backwards. So when this is stuck in plant and then it turns into this drag route, that's where his weight is unable to shift. He doesn't have some of that makeup to get there completely. And then he gives up the completion. You just don't see some of that makeup athleticism, unfortunately, to get here on this play. Watch Rakestraw's awareness here in the press. And you're going to see how quickly he transitions here. So he very quickly recognizes that the receiver here is going single step, boom, and he's shooting upfield. He's getting out quickly on this play, and Rakestraw is able to mirror that, and I love that here. So maybe not the shiftiest receiver off the line, but you can see he's reading the hips here of the receiver and how fast he's able to then kind of adapt himself to it and get himself back on top of the route. Not just playing, what he came in with his intention to play, regardless of what the receiver does. He's able to be very reactive to what the receiver's release type is. So right here, quickly, boom, shoot himself off the line, quickly, boom, single step, and then he's going. But Rakestraw plays balanced here, and he's very quickly to react to that. Then he gets out of his transition as well, and then he shoots himself right back on top of the route to gain control of it. Now, he is a little bit tall here, so if this does break and it doesn't stay into kind of this vertical push, right here you could absolutely have separation. So I do like how quickly he was able to be reactive to the release type here, but the flip side is, again, he's playing on the shoulder and now being a little bit tall. This is where if this route, again, turns into kind of a in break, that's where you could potentially create separation on this play. But I do like how quickly he was able to be reactive to the release type. Then the backside, you have Dorsey, who, again, is just so smooth and fluid, man. Khalil Dorsey just reacting to Isaiah Hodgins here. Single step, but but he's balanced or bouncing, they're ready to go. Then he's able to kind of find a really good pace to get inside, get contact, and then just roll with the route and sit himself down. Very good control. That's what you see with Dorsey constantly, is he plays with really good control as a cornerback. And similarly, Rakestraw playing outside leverage now into this slot role, and maybe shows himself a little bit too early here. So again, playing outside leverage, setting himself up, dialing himself down, getting his foot back for the press here to stay balanced. The issue is that he kind of shows that a little bit early, and the receiver is able to feel that, and they're able to react off of it. So right here, they kind of feel it, and then they're able to quickly kind of dip it and react off it, and now it slows kind of that vertical transition for Rakestraw, and he give up a step. But again, you still see that recovery burst to get himself back into the play, even though he gave up a little bit of separation. And he's able to land with contact here because he does do a nice job of squaring himself for contact. So he still does disrupt the route a little bit here. Then you got Strickland here on the tight end, Malik Jefferson covering the back out of the backfield, and this did not look great at all for Malik Jefferson, and that's honestly how it kind of looked as well when he was coming here. He's a good athlete, but in terms of kind of mirroring guys, the agility is really lacking from Malik Jefferson in matchups like this where routes get complex. As we talked about, we talked about many times, like complex routes could be a problem because of some of the agility there. We're going to see Deron Gilbert does his thing, as Deron Gilbert kind of was all game, man. Deron Gilbert was making plays, finds the route, plants, sticks, and dives on Tommy DeVito, and he ends up keeping him, picking up the first down. I thought Deron Gilbert played really fast in this game, which was great. So with that, I'm going to leave it there. That was kind of our first look at the Lions' top unit secondary in this game, a look at the rookies, a look at Amik Robertson, and overall, they played really well. So let me know what you guys want to see next. May do offensive line, may just do offense in general. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. May tie Nate Sudfeld with the offensive line, that kind of thing. But let me know. I'm going to leave it there. Again, shout out to our sponsor and partner for today's video and for this NFL season, BetUS. Top link in the description. Thank you, Rob, for watching, and I'm out.